If you've been looking for a bookkeeping system for your business and you're not quite sure where to start, and you've heard of something called FreeAgent and you're wondering what it is, how it works, or you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed in terms of you were given a free license and you started trying to use it but you're not quite sure quite what you're doing, then this video is for you. We try and break things down in plain English and explain things so it's not really scary, and that we can help you understand how to get the most out of the system and if this is a good fit for you. So watch along to see what FreeAgent is all about and how to use it for the best for your business, and also some quick tips in there for some quick wins because we love those. So what is FreeAgent and who is it for? So typically I recommend FreeAgent as a really good starter project for people who are just learning to be business owners or getting on a system for the first time and just need something that's really easy to use and makes sense and doesn't put them off the financials from the beginning. It's effectively a bookkeeping system, and bookkeeping is effectively when you categorize information into different types of things to say what they are to get tax relief on those expenses or declare sales. So effectively you have money coming into your bank account, money going out, and you say that was for advertising, that was for materials, that was for staff. And bookkeeping is the process of literally labeling all of those transactions to get a financial picture for your business of profitability and then how much tax you have to pay. So I'm going to take you through it like sort of step by step, and we'll do one thing at a time, and I'm sure it'll make sense. If you have any questions as I go through it, then just leave a comment and I'll get back to you and we can sort you out. So when you log into FreeAgent for the first time, you'll come to the dashboard here, and this is where you can get loads of useful information for how the business is performing. So at the top here you have a big blue bar, and this is kind of the main navigation area for you to get to most things. And you also have the add new button here, and that will allow you to create most things that you might need to quite quickly. We have a cash flow report at the top here. Green means money coming in and red means money going out. So you can start to see a trend of how your cash is performing, and if the green is bigger than the red, then that's a good sign because you're making more cash than you're spending. But if you have a month where the red is bigger than the green, then you need to keep an eye on that, because eventually you will run out of cash if you keep trending that way. This section is all about invoices. So if you issue your sales invoices through FreeAgent, then you can get automation in there to track if the invoice is due or overdue, and then you can also set some email templates around that to automatically chase your debt effectively. So that's quite cool, and you can see from this if you have too many overdue or unpaid invoices, then it's going to have an impact on this because you're not going to have as much cash in the bank. This widget here is for banking, and it gives you an idea of your bank balances over time. Hopefully your cash will start to increase the longer that you go, and you can kind of see what your balance is if you have one bank account. To be honest, if you have more than one bank account, this isn't 100% accurate at the minute, because if you have like loan accounts in there and stuff, that does kind of knock it out of whack. But to mitigate that, you can go down to the next one, which is your profit and loss. It'll give you a profit and loss snapshot, and that's quite cool because it means that you can see if you're profitable, which is obviously a huge thing in being in business, and you can see this on the first page, right? So that's quite clear from the start to give you an idea of how the business is performing. This is all pulled from the bank reconciliation, which we'll cover. And then the only thing that FreeAgent also does is if it's a sole trader or a limited company, it will kind of talk in limited company language. So sole traders won't necessarily have retained profit, so you can kind of disregard this in here if you're a sole trader. But if you're a business like a limited company, then you might have profits that were retained last year that have carried forward into this year to give you more reserves this year. So that can be useful if you're a limited company. And finally, on the other side, you have your expenses. So expenses are things that you might put into the system if you've paid for them personally and you haven't paid for them through the business's bank account. So for example, if you have a business bank account and you tapped at Costa Coffee or something, and that was a business meeting and you need to reclaim it, then you can add it in as an expense here. And effectively this gives you a list of all of the expenses that have been listed, and this would include if you had like a team and they had access to add their expenses, and you can keep an eye of that. Or you also have your bills here. Now typically bills are things that you get invoiced for because the materials are being supplied, but you haven't had to pay for them yet. So this kind of works well in a building situation where you might have a contract with, say, MKM or Dove suppliers, something like that, and they will give you a monthly statement or an invoice that is not due until 4 to 6 weeks after for actual payment. This can have an impact on cash flow, so you can kind of keep an eye on what do I need to pay, what's overdue, by looking in this screen as well. So we mentioned the blue bar at the start, and typically when you log in for the first time, you're going to get asked a load of questions, and this is kind of what this blue bit is about at the minute. So if you wanted to create any additional users, you can do that. You can have quite good security on there. So if we look at the director at the minute, then I'll be able to show you, this is the user permissions that you can set for any additional users that you want to add. So if you wanted to add a new user, you would go in and you would enter all this information in for the user, and then you can set the different types of access that you want them to be able to have. So if you had like a team member and they wanted to get their pay slips every month and they wanted to be able to upload some expenses, but you don't want them looking into your bank account or seeing your P&L reports, then you can just restrict the access to level 2 here, which is my money. As a director, we would normally put them in this one because your accountant would do this bit. So that's kind of a healthy place to be if you are setting up a new user who is meant to have like most of the access. From the settings, you can also edit most things in FreeAgent. If you suddenly become VAT registered, you can go into VAT registration and add your VAT number in, and then FreeAgent will crunch the numbers for you and start to prepare your tax returns that way. Accounting categories is really cool because then you can really personalize the P&L to your business. So if you wanted to set up specific cost of sale items to your business, so if that was like a bakery and you wanted like cake ingredients and then you wanted delivery and packaging for those cakes, then you could split those out as separate items so that it makes sense to you when you're doing your bookkeeping. Same for any admin expenses. If there's anything specific for your business, then you can add it into the chart of accounts and make it more realistic to how your business works. You don't have to stick with these accounting categories of like things that don't quite match how your business works and you always feel a bit disjointed. Make sure it works for you. This is your opportunity to tailor it to how you like to work. If you are in construction and you have CIS deductions, you can add that in here, and there's also payroll support, but you would put the payroll references in the company details up here. The other good thing you can do here is you can customize all of the email templates so that they match your language, and you can have different themes. The price list is quite useful if you're sending out similar invoices all the time for similar services that you do. The main thing that you need to do when you're on a bookkeeping system is get your sort of like financial routines in place, and that involves explaining your transactions at the end of the month and issuing your sales invoices and reconciling the payments so that you understand who's paid, who hasn't paid, and it stops it building up into this massive thing at the end of the year. But it also means if you keep on top of it regularly that you can use that data for other things like assessing the performance of the business to then drive the strategy of the business and decision making going forwards. So to do that, we go into the banking section. So we go up to the blue bar, select bank accounts, and that will take us down to our current accounts here. Alternatively, if we were in the dashboard, we can click on all accounts here, and that gets you to the same place really quickly. So when we go into our business current account, we have a mix of items. So FreeAgent has AI built into the bank feed, and typically when you have a bank transaction, it'll come with a description from either someone who sent the money or the place that you've bought it, and based on the name and the amount and the date, FreeAgent can look through your data, but also look through many, many transactions across its estate and work out what kind of shop was that and make a guess effectively. So in the bank, you have color coding, and this is one of the reasons why I like FreeAgent for beginners, because it's just so simple to understand. You have 3 tabs at the top here, and you have unexplained, for approval, and all transactions. If something is green, that means that it's reconciled. You don't have to do anything else with it. You've done it. Don't worry about it. If it's red, FreeAgent doesn't know what it is, and you need to start it off by making your selection. If it's orange, it means it's got an idea. It's seen it before, and instead of having to put everything in over here, you can just click on it and you can approve it, and then that makes it green. So if you have something that's red, we know it's a payment, so it's selected in the top here. Other things you might have are refunds or bill payments. So if you've already put a bill in, so you've got your invoice from MKM and you've made a payment, then that would be a bill payment. You also have transfer to another account. This is what we typically use if you have like a loan. You would just transfer it to your loan account, or money paid to user. So if it's like the end of the month and you're the director, or if you're the sole trader, then you might do money paid to user, and then you can select it as drawings if you're a sole trader, or a salary if you've got a payroll scheme set up, or if you're a director, you'd also have dividend in this list as well. So what you need to do is select a transaction, and we'll say this one we know was for a flight, so we're going to put it down as travel. There was no VAT on it because it was Aer Lingus, and we put in a explanation here. If we have the receipt, which is really good to have, you can put it in here. You just upload the file and then you explain the transaction. If you had the receipt and uploaded it, you'd have a little paper clip here, and it means that it's nice and organized if you ever need to find that receipt again. So effectively go through one by one and you explain them, and as the system learns more, the more it will guess, and it will get faster and faster. So, you know, if you came in a month and you had payment to one supplier that you always use and it's always your cost of sale, then so to get faster, you can click on one of them, go select all, and then you can effectively bulk explain what they were using the menu on the right hand side here. So we can get like a good 17 at that time, which over a month actually really adds up to a lot of time saving. You can also search in here for specific transactions, or if you can't remember what you did last time. Okay, so if you said like, where did I put Pret last time, then you can go in and see what you did it last time and make sure you match it that way. Did I include VAT? Did I not include VAT? What category did I put it in? Or if you have lots of Pret transactions in the month, then you can search for Pret in the specific month or the specific year, and then you can bulk explain them using the right hand side menu, which I showed you before. So that when you've explained all those transactions, you have done a bank reconciliation. So well done. That's what you need to do at the end of each month. So once you've reconciled your bank and you've explained everything, then what you might need to do next is raise a sales invoice. So let's have a look at that next. The sales invoices are in the work tab over here. So if we go into invoicing, then to raise an invoice in FreeAgent, you need to have a contact. So sometimes you might go into contacts, add the contact, and then you'll be able to raise a sales invoice. Or if you have sold to that person before, then you can raise a new invoice and it will be able to find it. So we've sold to Twin Food stores before, so we can click add new invoice. We can find the contact there. The invoice reference is automatic. Normally what you'll have in a business is sequential invoicing, and that means that they run one after another. The invoice date should be when you've supplied that service or that you've made that sale, like you've handed something over or you've completed something. That should be when you invoice somebody. And then you've got your payment terms. So you can do 0, which means pay me when you receive this invoice, or you can give them 7 days, 14 days, 28 days, 30 days, whatever's good for your industry, you can set it here. If you need to send international, Invoices, you can change that here into whatever you're sending. And then to get paid, you can set up different interfaces with FreeAgent, things like go cardless or Stripe payments, PayPal, for example. But if you have Stripe payments, that's quite good as well to offer people a card payment, because sometimes people don't have enough cash to pay you. But if they can pay by a card, then that means you get your money sooner. So that's a win for your business. You can also set some automatic templates that you might have set up in the previous step with the settings. So email payment reminders if the invoice goes unpaid is quite a good one. Or if you're really hot on customer service and you're a really nice business, then you might want to do a little thank you once it's been paid. You can also put in some custom payment terms and PO references here. You can select which bank account you get paid into, and you might need to add the BIC and IBAN numbers if you have an international account. But effectively, you put all that in and then you create a new invoice. Based on how you set your contact up, the information for their address will be pulled through automatically. Same with the invoice number, the date, the payment terms, and then it calculates the payment due date based on your payment terms. You can have your logo here, you just need to add that in the settings, and then it has your bank details down here. To add your invoice, you put your invoice items in by clicking add invoice item here. So you could do 1 day, and because this is like a 1 day thing, we might want to add it to our price list. So we say create and finish, and that means we've got it there for the next time. Once you've created your invoice, you have the items in there that you're happy with, then you need to send that invoice out. So you can connect your email address to FreeAgent so that you can send things from FreeAgent using your email account. If you have done that, then you can press send by email here, and this will send it from your email address. You can customize any of this content how you want it to work with the templates, or you can change it now if there's something specific you need to call out. So then you would click send email, it would go. FreeAgent would then record the sale in your bookkeeping system. So let's have a look at what that looks like. So we have an invoice here where the invoice has been sent, but it hasn't been paid yet. That means it's open, it's not overdue, so it's orange. And effectively, when it gets paid, if we go into the bank account, we can see we have a sale coming in here. We're going to click invoice receipt, and then we're going to find the right invoice that needs to be paid. And then we explain it. And then that links everything up. The sale is complete. The invoice was issued. The money has been recorded as a sale on your profit and loss account, and the money has been paid to you, which means it's not a debtor anymore, it's an asset because you got the money in the bank. And if you wanted to do recurring invoices, it's very similar. So you need to create a recurring profile. So you see how similar this looks to the invoice. We have a start date, so we're going to send it on the first of every month. So we'll set that up from next month. We'll change the frequency to monthly. We'll say payment is due on receipt because we're going to set them up with direct debit. We create that. We'll pretend that we are an accountant. So we'll go 1 month. Now, when we press activate, FreeAgent will handle the rest. So it will automatically send it from your email address using your templates every month without you having to think about it. And then if you have Go Cardless set up on the other side of it, that will automatically collect the payments every month without you having to worry about it. The only thing that you have to do is when you log in at the end of the month, you link them together. Really simple, really easy, and it just saves you so much time. If you want to connect your payment services up to get paid faster, then let's have a look at how we do that now. So we're going to go to connections and add-ons, and then we have all the payment solutions in here. You just need to click get started. You obviously need to have a PayPal account. For FreeAgent, it needs to be a business PayPal account. It can't be a personal one. With a Stripe one, you'd have to have an account for that as well, and Go Cardless. And then effectively when you click get started, it'll ask you to sign in with those accounts, and then it will connect it up to your FreeAgent. The thing also I didn't mention is the bank connections. So when you set up a bank account with FreeAgent, you can actually get FreeAgent for free. And if you get a Metal account or a NatWest account, then that enables you to get this software for nothing. Zero, lifetime. There's no 3 months for zero. It's just free because you have that account. So when you set up your FreeAgent normally, you'll create a new bank account, and then you'll have to set up a bank feed. So depending on which bank you're with, you can go into the bank account and press enable bank feed, and then you select your bank off any of these. You go through, it will take you through to the sign in for your bank, depending on what security they have. They might have like 2-factor authentication you've got to go through. But when you sign in, it'll ask you then approve access to FreeAgent. Once you do that, it'll bring you back to FreeAgent, and then it'll connect, and it's all good. If you have any issues with doing that, go onto the FreeAgent support articles, and they have some good articles on specific banks that can be a little bit more tricky than other ones. So Starling sometimes can be a little bit confusing because it kind of goes the other way around, but they have step-by-step instructions as to how to do that, because the support on FreeAgent is really good as well. Once you've set up your bank feed and you've set up your Stripe payments and you go cardless, you still might need to check if someone hasn't paid you. So then you need to go into your reports. The reports are found in the accounting menu. And from here, we'll have something called an aged debtor report. Aged debtors are aged because they're old, they haven't paid. Debtors because they are debt. They are people who owe you money. Then it will load invoices that haven't been paid, and it'll show you how old the debt is. And based on that, you can make some decisions on how you're going to chase that debt. So typically, you'll normally have an amount in 0 to 30 days if it's the beginning of the month and you've just raised your invoices. But if you're starting to get amounts over on the right hand side here that are 2-3 months old, then you can check your reconciliations, make sure you haven't been paid and you've reconciled it to the wrong place. And if you're sure that you haven't been paid, then if it's this old, you probably need to ring this customer and say, I've got this invoice that's been outstanding for 3 months now, you need to pay it, what's going on? So be careful and use this report to kind of keep on top of things. The opposite to an aged debtor report is the aged creditor, and this is money that you owe people to. So in terms of your cash flow, then make sure you're not damaging your relationship with your suppliers by paying too late. And if you're not sure who you need to pay at the end of the month, then you can come on here and see which bills are due, and then you can go off and make your payments to your suppliers. So when we did the bank reconciliation and we had the traffic light system and we had the AI helping to make sure that you could do it as fast as possible, that's important. And the reason that that's important, I'm going to show you now. So if we go into the reports, then we have the profit and loss statement. Now, you can change this to look at it however you want. I like looking at it monthly. So at the end of the month, you'll have your whatever's happened, and say week 1 or week 2 of the next month, you can come in, reconcile your data, and then be like, right, how did we do? How were sales? How were expenses? Did we make a profit? Did we make enough profit? Depends how much data you like doing and how much information you want, but you can go mad with this. From my little nerdy accountant brain, I like this a lot. So you get your total at the end, and then if you get to like a year-end position, then you can kind of zoom out. If you're VAT registered, you can zoom out and you can go quarter to quarter, or if you are through MTD, which we'll talk about in a little bit, or you can go yearly, and then you can also go comparative, so you can go from one period to another one, and then you can see the difference, and you can also then measure expenses against each other to see if they've gone up or down in the way that you would expect. So the other side of a profit and loss report would be the balance sheet. And this might be the other thing that you hear accountants talk about. So a balance sheet can be found over here. Now, a balance sheet is a snapshot of the assets and liabilities. Assets are things that you own, and liabilities are things that you owe. So in this balance sheet, we have some capital assets of things that we've bought, And then we have depreciation on those assets. Activity depreciation is the mechanism that reduces the value of that asset in the balance sheet. Your assets can also be things like people who owe you money from your sales invoices. These are the trade debtors that we looked at earlier. It can also be your bank account and your cash. Your liabilities is like opposite to that. So you might have like your bank loans, your overdrafts, bills that you owe out, expenses that you owe out. And effectively that gives you a net current asset figure and an equity section. Equity is only really relevant to limited companies, but it gives you a view of your retained profit, which is important for dividends if you're going to be issuing dividends. A good thing if you're a limited company on the balance sheet is checking your director's loan account and making sure it's on the liability side and not on the asset side, because if it's on the asset side, you're going to owe tax to HMRC, and we don't want to pay any more of that than we have to. Now I've got two new things to show you on this video, and the first one is called Smart Capture. So if we go into bills and we go add new bill, we have this new button here called upload via Smart Capture. Smart Capture is a tool that allows you to upload a receipt and it will read the information from the receipt so that you don't have to upload it manually, which saves another amount of time, like the AI in the bank feed. So this is really cool to use. It only costs £5 a month, which is nothing. If you're doing bookkeeping and you have paper receipts that you need to enter for records, you know, when you had your bank statement and you have all your stuff, then you can add it in as bills, or if you've paid for stuff personally, you can add that in as expenses. You need to select a file, so you take a picture of your receipt and add it on to your desktop if you're doing bookkeeping from your desktop like I am at the minute, or you can also do it from your mobile. So we choose file. You can see here it's processing automatically, and once it's ready, then we can review that. We can either create it as an expense or as a bill. So I'm going to create this one as a bill. Contact. It's pre-populated the organization name based on what was on the receipt. I don't have to add that, so save contact. It's pre-populated the bill date. It can see there was VAT on there. You can obviously check that and override that if it hasn't done it properly, but generally it's right. Save and review, so we can just do the bill date for that. And that then is a bill waiting to get paid, which is really smart, and that's how fast it is. So it is a really cool tool that you can use to save some time. Give it a try, let me know what you think. The next one that we need to talk about is if you're a sole trader in the UK and you earn over £50,000, or if you're a landlord, then you are going to be included in MTD for ITSA from April next year, which is April 2026. FreeAgent can really help you with that. Effectively, what you'll need to do is quarterly updates with a P&L, no balance sheet, and submit that to HMRC, and then on the final one, it's a final declaration. So let's have a look at what that looks like. So we need to go to taxes, and then we can go to income tax. And then we have our new MTD section down here. So once you're in MTD, you won't have the self-assessment return anymore. So you might have some old self-assessments above, and then you'll have your new MTD for stuff going forwards. You effectively will have for your self-employment, your 4 quarters, and then your end of year adjustment, and then your final declaration. So based on what we've explained in the bank account, you'll have your income and your expenses for the quarter, which is the 6th of April to the 5th of July. Once we have completed all the bookkeeping, we're happy that we've included all of our income and expenses, then we can click send update. We can say which quarter we want to do, and then based on if the client is set up for MTD, which obviously this is just a demo account, we can then send update to HMRC. And you'll have to do that every single quarter going forwards, and that'll just turn into a normal sort of routine, which is why it's really important to keep on top of your data at the end of the month. Just log in, spend a couple of hours, get it done, and then move on and do something else that you like doing. So once you've submitted your quarter one and you start to go through your quarters, then it'll give you like a running total of what your taxable profit is likely to be. And then when you get to your final declaration, it'll give you like the full breakdown of what the tax is, because the tax is only payable at the end of the year. It's still not, even though you're doing quarterly updates, you don't have to pay the tax each quarter like a VAT return. It's still just quarterly updates, P&L. This is what I've made, this is what I've made, this is what I've made, this is what I've made. And then when you get to your final declaration, that's when it's kind of like your final submission with tax that's due and everything that you would normally expect to see in kind of your self-assessment. So that was FreeAgent in a nutshell. We went through quite a lot there in terms of, the bank reconciliation, setting up sales invoices, customizing it to your business, managing debt, setting up payment integrations, using the automation, and finally a little bit on MTD for ITSA next year. It's a great system if you're just getting started out and you need something that uses, good language, something that's easy to use and not too complicated. You can get it for free if you get a Metal account or an NatWest account, which is good as well. If you're just starting out and you need a good system and you need value for money, then FreeAgent 100% is the right system for you. They also have an amazing support team. They're based in Edinburgh, so they're quite local. And if you have any questions, you can just email them and they get back to you really quickly. I love FreeAgent, and I'll say that again and again and again. If you have any questions about how it works or you get stuck on something, then just feel free, honestly, leave me a comment and I'll help you. It's not a problem. But yeah, I hope you found this video helpful. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate your time, and give us a follow if you want any more information or tips around accountancy and making things simple.